In today's video, we're going to review the brand new Pixel Watch 2 just announced about a week ago from Google. The biggest thing about this watch is it actually looks very much the same as we saw it last year, but there are so many new things that have been done here. We have a new processor. We have a longer battery life on this as well due to that new processor. We have a lot better implementation or integration with Fitbit, and of course some new AI functionalities that are going to be coming to Fitbit very soon. But not only that, this is again trying to give us the best of Google and the best of Fitbit in a wearable, and it's the second generation, so the expectations are definitely going to be much higher. I'm going to share with you guys my review after using this for over 2 weeks, and I want to share with you guys what I liked and what my concerns are still going to be, basically carried over from last year's first generation Pixel Watch. This is TK, let's go ahead and start the review, and of course, let me know what you guys think. Like and subscribe, and make sure you hit that bell icon so that you're always notified to whenever we have new videos on the channel. And here we are, the Pixel Watch 2. One of the big things I'll probably say overall, if you have the first generation, the box shape kind of changed. It went from more of a rectangular, sideways to more of a kind of like a vertical situation going on. And what we have essentially is it's still with Fitbit. The design is very familiar. Pixel Watch 2, just on the side here, Wear OS by Google. And of course, obviously say the command. I'm not going to initiate it there. And we have Google on the side here. On the back, just some regulatory information. This is the second version. This one is not the LTE version. Last year, I did get a chance to review the LTE version. This is just a standard Wi-Fi / Bluetooth. So it's Bluetooth by default, Wi-Fi is a backup, where the LTE has that third option of jumping over to LTE in case there's no Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, to be able to get everything connected. The charger in the box is a USB-C style connector, so you'll be able to connect it to your laptop. And of course, you'll notice one of the biggest things, it's a 4-pin connector that is different than what we had last year. Still USB-C last year, but it was basically more of a magnetic option. Here, it's a 4-pin connector that marries over to the back. But one thing I will say, it actually connects very easily, and there is never an issue with the hold. And if I'm not mistaken, I think nope, it only holds one way. So it always has to go around from the side of the crown. I actually probably never tried it on the other side. But overall, if you ever have it, you need to actually have it hang, it will hold the watch and has no problem. 4-pin connectors marries to the 4-pin options on the back, and we'll get a chance to check that out in there. And then otherwise, just instruction information. I will say that the experience of opening the box is a little bit different, and I just want to share you that it opens actually kind of like a book. So when you first get the watch is here, the charging cable and the additional strap is actually in there. They do include 2 straps in here. Now, you'll notice that my watch has different color straps, and that's because I actually have my straps from last year. So nicely, Google did at least allows us to keep the strap functionality. So if you have Pixel watches, if you bought bands from the first generation one, they worked absolutely the same, and this is what I'm using here. But just for reference, you're still able to basically remove them the same way. You push the button, you take it out. By the way, this is the first generation watch. You get 2 bands on the box. The preset one is the one that's the longer one, and then there's the short one available. So you're able to fit it on most wrists. It's not going to be an issue, and of course, you can just use which one you want. And if you have additional ones that you want, you can again mix and match and make your own nice little combination, like my Panda basically Pixel watch that I set up here. Again, not for everybody, but it definitely makes it a unique look. Of course, attaching it, very simple. You put it on, and it's pretty much set. Now, on the left, I have the Pixel Watch first generation. This is the LTE, and you'll notice that's going to be always the one with the silver crown. On the right, this is going to be the darker one. And one of the big things I'll say is, again, visually, they look very much the same. If you flip them over, you'll notice there's obviously a big difference in the stack or in the arrangement of the sensors, much more improved sensors, and obviously much better experience, longer battery life. The new W5 chip from Qualcomm, we went straight to a Qualcomm chipset here. So it's, again, very different experience going in there. But when you start looking at the aesthetics, the placement of the microphone, the placement of the action button that we have in here, again, present on the side. One thing I will say that I kind of feel like, again, one of the big things that they did here, they're just trying to give you an experience that kind of marries over. Let's go ahead and turn this one off. And then, of course, the ability of changing your watch faces, syncing it up to your application, all of that stuff is very much the same. The bands still use the same configuration loop/clip option that we have, so it makes it very secure. Haven't had it fall off. And again, because I had the 2 watches, I decided to swap the bands. So you're going to notice that kind of Panda going on with both first gen and second gen. Now, one of the other things you'll notice is that the speaker is still sitting on the right side and the microphone is sitting on the left side. That's pretty much how it's married here on the brand new Pixel Watch 2. And all of the other stuff here, sorry, the sensor is going to keep going off because of the options that we have in there. But once we start looking in here, you'll notice that there's a few options in there. See here that says Google Pixel Watch 2. We have an SpO2 sensor. We have all the options in there, sleep tracking, all the features that they have. They usually put them around the crown. Sorry, it's reflective, so my camera is not able to focus on it. But one thing I will say though, if you do buy any of these accessories options that you like to put on there, they work on both watches just the same. I was using it on my Pixel Watch 2, and it's the exact same configuration, same option from the first one. The biggest thing I'll probably say is just, again, the one thing they kept, accessories for both watches are going to be very nice. So screen protectors, all of that stuff will be the same. And it's going to come down to even using the application. So this is the Pixel Watch, the application that is directly available on the Google Play Store. It's been updated to support the watch. Now, I don't have always on display on, and I'll explain to you why when we're going to start talking about the battery life. But as far as configuration, what you need to do, you do need to download the application itself. This is actually called, let's go ahead and go in, and let's go to App Info. It's actually called the Google Pixel Watch. It's available directly, and that's the logo for it. Once you're in the application, it's pretty straightforward. You pair your device typically the same way. Once you have it set up directly here, you also need to go in there and make sure to install the Fitbit application and then log in with an account. Now, the Fitbit standard account will work perfectly fine. If you want to go further in some of the analysis that they have, you can go to the Fitbit Premium. I do have that, and we're going to talk about the fact on what does that do and what improvements do we get. Now, obviously, it's more connected. It's connected here. 17 minutes ago was the last time it synced to Fitbit. It's connected via Bluetooth. It has 15% battery life. And then you can see the watch face or the complication that I have right now. And it actually is a configurable one. We're going to talk about that. We have the ability of customizing our tiles. We have the option of putting in different tiles, changing them, reorganizing them, replacing them if we want to be able to. And there is a limit, unfortunately. It's not going to allow you to put every single tile that you want, but it does have a lot of options. And when you install applications that support new tiles, it'll be able to add them. And again, as I mentioned, you can basically hold, move, do whatever you want, and put them in the order that you want, get them configured correctly. Let's go back here. And then under watch faces, very much a similar experience. Now you're able to scroll through, basically kind of get all the different watch faces that they have in here. You can customize, and of course you can add additional ones. You can go in there, check the different options. It's a massive library. These are, again, the preset ones. You can install anything that normally is compatible with, again, with Wear OS, or at least Wear OS 4.0. You should be able to do that. It is running the latest version there as far as software. You can customize your notification, your sliders, all the options that you want to be able to, all the different things. And if you want the phone to basically mute the device, mute watch notifications when you're using the phone, that's something to turn on. Because otherwise, if a push notification comes through, the watch will make a little bit of an announcement in there for you to know. And then, of course, allow new applications so they don't have to keep adding applications. Mute phone calls, all the different things. Again, all in the notification section. Google, this is where you transfer your account. I've already transferred mine. This is typical to what you would do. And I love the fact that we have the ability of now backing up and switching devices. We'll talk about that again in some of the options in here. But under Google, again, you can set up the assistant, the wallet, the account, and of course, a backup function to Google One, as I mentioned to you guys. Now we are able to back up our functions again within our Fitbit. If we decide to transfer or if we have to reset, we can just back up and restore. The assistant is built in here. Let's go ahead and put it on, and I can press and hold and initiate the assistant by just pressing the action button. Or if I push the main application button, you can also kind of initiate the recent app that we have in there. There is an assistant app in there. We'll talk a little bit about Fitbit. I'm going to skip it right now just to kind of finish off whatever is in the actual watch app. Then we'll jump into the Fitbit functionality, which is really, really nice. Play Store, pretty straightforward. Takes you to the Play Store with a pre-filtered selection for applications designed for our watches. And one of the nice things about that, obviously, is Gmail is supported now. We have WhatsApp supported. And I also love that it actually also supports one of my favorite applications, and that's the app called Wear for Tesla. And that allows me to actually connect and control my car just straight from my watch. And it works absolutely fantastic. And again, just all of those things are built in, very simple and very easy. You could just customize them directly. So that's pretty much just the link. Watch preferences are going to be pretty much generally the same as what you're able to do if you just press it down, go to the top, and then go into the settings tab. It should be basically mirroring most of what you have in there with a few exceptions. So under general, obviously, we'll go ahead and go in. You'll be able to check show notification, auto media controls. Really nice, very nice. When you're playing music, it turns on and the controls here directly on the watch. So you can skip forward, skip back, pause and play back, and as well as change the volume settings. Display and gestures, this is pretty much straightforward. How long you want the display to stay on. You can turn on and turn off the always on display, and that actually does affect the battery. But what I'll say is this, consistently over the last basically almost 2.5 weeks to 3 weeks, this has been able to give me a much longer life than what we had in the past. And even with the always on display, a consistent 24 hours function, meaning if I left the charger this morning at 5 a.m., I'm able to get back to the charger tomorrow at 5 a.m. with about 5% battery left with the always on display on, and the watch will be able to do day tracking, general notifications, even I would say probably one workout in there, and it does consistently last that long. If you're going to go beyond that, where it's obviously I would say like excessive notification, you're responding to a lot of different things, you may end up having to still kind of touch a little bit on the charger. But I think this is where I disabled the always on display. Once you disable this, I was actually able to get it almost all the way to 2 days, and that's really nice for a Pixel Watch. So we'll talk about that. Font size, tilt to wake, of course, touch to wake, those are typical things. Tilt to wake essentially is whenever you turn your wrist over, it'll do that for you, and it'll get it for that. Security, wrist reference, of course, if you want to be able to do this is what I really like about this as well. You're able to put it on both the right or left wrist, but you're also able to configure where the crown is present. So you can actually have it on the right or left side. One of the reasons I say this is when you put it on your wrist and you're using it on your wrist for an extended amount of time, one of the big things about crowns, especially with watches that have them, is if they're facing towards your wrist and you do this, you just basically twist up to try to grab something, you're doing whatever. If the crown is, I would say, easily pressable, or the button on the right side is easily pressable, you could initiate the recent app, you wake up the watch, and you end up basically wasting battery life. Having the ability of being able to basically switch the watch to basically say, oh, I want it on my left hand, but I want it to be upside down. So basically I'm going to say it's on the left. It switches the orientation of the actual watch to fit that function that you have in there. And it makes it work exactly the way you want it. So very nice, very simple. Just tell it what you want and set it up the way you want it. And it works really, really nice. And configure it on both either the right or left wrist. Security, of course, this is just screen lock. You can set up a PIN. If you like to use Google Wallet, it will require a PIN. So either basically a pattern or a PIN number. So that's something to keep in mind. We talked about safety and security, basically emergency SOS, check, safety check, of course, in emergency sharing, God forbid something happens, you just say fall or some kind of an accident goes on. It does have an option to be able to automatically send your last location. And of course, it also has fall detection and emergency SOS. That's going to be those two features where it sends the information. You're also able to preload your medical ID and emergency contacts at the bottom here. So all of that information is preset in there, ready. God forbid something happens, you're ready, and at least you have some type of form if you're not using it with a Pixel. That's the other thing. Fall protection, although it's present on Pixel devices, I'm actually using it on a on a Sony device. And when you're using it with Sony, it's obviously not going to have that fall protection the same way we have it with other devices. So that's one of the things to keep in mind. Of course, system, watch version, you can check as far as, calendar's sake, which calendars you want to sync. Find My Device, About version, you can go in there, check it. This is the latest version with Google Store. I did receive one update since I got the watch. Again, here where you can say transfer watch, which is very nice. Transfer watch to a new phone. This is really cool. You're also able to back it up and reset and unpair the watch. So really nice, very simple options, but these are definitely things that we appreciate now having inside. Again, all the configuration that you want. Accessibility as far as basically screen reader, talkback, font size, those are all things we saw there before. And of course, last but not least, we have privacy, data sync, personal data. So basically you can configure the options that you want in there for marketing, system privacy, as well as term of use and functionality. So with that being said, you're always going to be able to see things how they are there. We're basically down to 14%. We lost 1% in that conversation. 13 minutes ago, that's when it last synced. But let's go ahead and jump into Fitbit. The reason why this is a unique experience than some of the other options on the market. Because we have a lot of Wear OS watches on the market, but this is the basically only one Wear OS running Fitbit as its own kind of a backup information and actually core processing information. Sync now, obviously we have it 14 minutes ago. Try Fitbit Premium if you want to be able to do that in there. And you're able to basically configure it and of course jump into the Fitbit application. So here, now we are in the Fitbit functionality here. Let's go ahead and zoom out a little bit. So swiping it down from the top, it gives it a second there, it's going to sync up and it pulls the information straight. It doesn't consistently sync, so it doesn't actually drain your battery. You're able to log into your account. As you can see here, I have my Fitbit Premium account set up. Now, first and foremost, obviously it's early in the morning. I just woke up from a 6 hours and 16-minute sleep. Of course, we have only 368 steps, so of course, give me a little bit more time, hopefully. Again, today's sleep score is 76. You do get a sleep score whenever you go through. So you can see all the different information. You can go back in history. You can see all the different options and of course aggregate your data. If you have a good night's sleep, it's going to be in the 70s and the 80s, and I have had some actually bad night sleeps. So yeah, you can definitely go all the way, get all that information, and of course readiness score, you can go in there, you can customize that, click that in there, and you can see here readiness score, go in, customize the activities that you want in there. basically for this week. Exercise day, I had one on Tuesday, and then we're going to basically keep going on from there. Again, the information that we're looking here is just, again, for one day. Let's go ahead and go back here. So October, you'll see here, it pulls up all the information. There's the elliptical run, and I really like the fact that it actually does really well on automatic pickups. So this was actually a run that I started early in the morning. It was like 33 minutes. I forgot to tell it that I was going to be on an elliptical, but it figured out that I was on an elliptical, and it tracked it within about a minute of me starting. So it wasn't exactly on, but it did definitely pick it up. And again, it does have a lot of really good detections. Yesterday, I started playing with the Quest 3. It picked up a light moderate workout for 22 minutes, and it started recognizing it and recorded it in there for me. You can go in there, customize distance of walking, energy burn, and of course, floors, levels, all the different things that you expect from Fitbit. This is, again, at its core, this is a Fitbit application. And I love that all my information is starting to sync up now. You know, body responses, all the different things that you're able to do. You can go into the coaching section if you love. This is part of the Fitbit Premium. You're also able to get basically coaching sessions, exercises, recommendations, weight training, and this is audio tracking as well. You're able to listen to them and watch them on a video, or of course cast them directly to a display. Under profile, you can be able to set up. Obviously, you can see here, I joined not that long ago with the Fitbit Premium functionality that we had in there. Activities, goals, and of course, all the achievements and badges that you get. Again, marathon earned one time in there. And of course, urban boot. When I started walking a lot, I was covering a lot of steps. Again, I've traveled with this to New York as well. So it definitely works very nicely, and it tracks very, very nice. So at its core right now, some of the things they talked about at the launch event, the AI functionalities that Fitbit was going to get, unfortunately are not available yet. Those are going to be coming out early next year. So some of those things are still yet to be available on our watch, but I will definitely make sure to cover that once that feature becomes available for us. Okay, now we've covered the watch itself on the app as far as how it connects directly into our phone, but let's talk about what the functionalities are directly on the watch itself. So if I press it once, if you don't have the always on display, it just goes into this form. I do want to show you guys real quick how it looks like when it's charging. So again, 4-pin pogo pin connector. Let's go ahead and get a second and give it a second to start charging. It actually does charge pretty quickly. So we'll go ahead and just show you guys a quick demo. So right now it's 5:56 a.m. and we're going to be at 13%. So let's go ahead and click home. We can go back and start using the watch itself normally the way we want it, but you'll see that little lightning at the bottom. So rolling to the top gives us access to the notification on the bottom, and rolling down from the top, so basically roll down takes us straight into the toggles. You have all these options in here, the home, the wallet, a little bit flashlight, airplane mode, find my device, brightness, display, do not disturb, and of course vibration. Last but not least, settings, and of course a gauge on the battery. It does not show it to you directly on the main page unless you customize one of the complications to say that information, but otherwise, if you just swipe down, you can get to see that. It's connected via Wi-Fi and directly to the phone because that's how the configuration is right now. We don't have the Bluetooth. If I have a notification that I need to respond to, I can definitely respond to this. This is running Wear OS. We have options to see here. Other emails, you can clear all of them, or just basically press the home button and it'll take you back to the main screen. Now, one of the nice things here is that the UI is pretty much on a loop. If I swipe to the left and I go all the way to the back here, it'll take me back to the main screen. It's pretty much straightforward. If I do the same thing the other way, it will. So if you ever want to go to the last tab or the last tile, you could just basically switch there. This is basically notes or keeps. I can basically do notes. Body responses in there, the weather, of course, sending a message with the Google Assistant. I like to set that up in there. Sleep tracking, again, the information that we saw on the watch or on the app itself is available in here. You can see all that information. You can track it directly. This is basically on the last sleeps that I had in there, which I just woke up from not that long ago. One of the other things, we have the ECG configuration. Again, very simple, very easy. It does require the crown, and it is very much where you have to be very still to be able to configure it. Let's go ahead and turn it back on. And last but not least here, we'll keep going in there. So we'll see here, we saw the ECG, we saw the quick start for the exercises, the heart rate, the continuous one. Obviously it's not tracking now since I'm actually not using it. And of course, steps, we're able to jump into those. And again, it just goes straight in all the information. And one of the really nice things about it is it keeps track of actually some of the main days. You'll notice yesterday was a really good day for me. But if we go basically further back, I even had better days when I was in New York. I clocked in almost about, I think it's like 14 miles between walking all around New York. It's a lot of fun to walk, and you don't really realize that you're doing it. So a lot of information is really good. But one thing I wanted to share with you guys, at 5:56, where we were sitting in at about 13%, we're up to 20%. So as you see here, it charges actually a lot faster than what you'd expect from a watch point of view. But otherwise, it actually really works very nicely. Fits very good on my hand, although still technically somewhat of a smaller configuration. More like a Fitbit, I feel like, than it is into more of the Wear OS watches we see on the market. It's very much the same experience we had from it last year. Again, same size, same configuration, but a lot more better improvements in here. The W5 chip is definitely doing a big improvements in performance, but also battery life. So how has it been using this watch? Has it been that much of a difference as far as usability? At the end of the day, watches like these Wear OS watches are supposed to blend into the background and only jump in front of us when there's something for us to be able to pay attention to. And that's one of the reasons I like Wear OS as an operating system for our watches. Because not only am I able to see a notification, it relieves me from having to pick up my phone and interact with my phone. So namely giving me a much better battery life on my phone. And I can actually do quick responses in here. I can actually use a keyboard. I can also use voice response. Also, I can initiate functionalities like automation because the assistant is built in here. Not a lot of watches on the market right now that are running Wear OS are running it with the assistant. As far as I know, if I'm not mistaken, it's Xiaomi, Samsung, and if I'm not mistaken as well, of course, the Pixel Watch as well. So from that functionality, it works perfectly fine. Automation, battery life consistently getting me over a day worth of usage. I turn off the always on display. I don't really need to keep looking at the watch and tell me what time it is. I generally have an idea of what time it is. If I really need to, I can just do the tilt raise to wake, and it does actually show me the watch, and then it goes back to sleep. So that function at least allows me to go to about a day and a half, almost 2 days, if I don't have a workout going on between. The moment I insert any kind of health tracking, a long walk or something like that, or even a heavy notification, I get about a day and a half. So as I woke up this morning, you saw my battery still had about 20% or so left. That's typically what I usually get, even with the always on display off. But I'm able to go all the way till at least middle of the afternoon if I want to turn on battery saver. So there are functions in there that are going there. Integration with Fitbit, absolutely fantastic. The sensor readout, all the information's in there are very, very nice. The extra exercise tips that you're able to get directly with Fitbit Premium do help, although you don't necessarily have to have that to get the basic information out of the watch. Backup and restore, very nice. Transferring the watch to another device is also very nice. That's something that we really needed for many, many years. Because if you remember, or if you've used any Wear OS watches in the past, you always had to reset the watch and you typically lost any information that you didn't sync up to the cloud through a third-party app. So if, let's say, you were using Google Fit or you're using Strava or whatever, you had to make sure to back up your data first, reset the watch, which would make sure that basically you lost all the configurations, all the apps, everything that was installed. And then when you resync the watch and configure it, you had to configure everything up again. Samsung did a decent job of providing us backup and restore, but now Google finally has that built in and it backs up directly to your Google One. So it just is, again, an easy, simple process, and the watch does allow you to transfer from one device to the other while keeping the configurations running. So very nice. Of course, you can still reset it and unpair it. I still will probably say at the end of the day, for my personal impressions, although with all the improvements that we saw with the W5 and everything like that, I would have loved to see maybe a little bit longer battery life, maybe a somewhat of a consistent 2-day battery life experience. But this is going to be one of those things where you have to travel with your charger. You have to bring it with you, and it's a proprietary charger, which means you need to make sure you have the right charger with you. So it's not like you can charge it with a device, like let's say a wireless charging with something like that on the market. So that's one of the things I really wish they would have gone, maybe something a little bit more, obviously standardized, or at least maybe given us wireless charging. The sizes on this, with the bands, you're able to fit on most wrists, large or small, but the watch itself, or the actual piece itself, is still somewhat small, and I was hoping last year that the second generation will give us 2 sizes, a bigger and a standard, although, again, we got better battery life with a smaller size. I'm hoping for maybe like a Watch 3 Plus or something to the effect that at least accommodates guys like me with slightly bigger wrists. It looks okay, but it still looks like I borrowed something from either my son or my wife, somebody that has smaller wrists. I do like the watch. I really recommend it for anybody that loves using the Fitbit ecosystem and loves to get Wear OS in there. So at the end of the day, let me know what you guys think. This is a great watch, a great upgrade. The incorporation of Qualcomm into the mix actually definitely improved the experience quite a bit. Battery life is better, and of course I'm excited to see some of the other features that are going to be dropping later on. A lot of the stuff they talked about at the launch event was coming down the pipe. Not all of it is there, but what we have right now is a very well-rounded experience. So let me know in the comments below. What do you guys think of the brand new Pixel Watch 2? Do you like it? Do you not like it? And of course, what your thoughts are as far as the improvements from last year. I'll see you in the next video.